Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that reality isn't what it seems. Strange flashes of light, ghostly hums, and cosmic signals defy every explanation we have, and sometimes make scientists scratch their heads. In this video, we are diving into real phenomena, true, documented events that feel like glitches in the Matrix. These aren't fairy tales or folklore, but actual mysteries of science and nature that no one has fully solved. Buckle up and get ready for a wild ride through the weirdest corners of reality. In the 1970s, a classified UK military experiment known as Project Hess allegedly documented multiple cases of soldiers vanishing for several minutes at a time from sealed, secure rooms. The men would reappear exactly where they vanished with no recollection of what happened, only confusion and nausea. Internal memos, declassified decades later, described the disappearances as, quote, brief temporal dislocations and caution about exposure to certain radio frequencies. No official explanation was ever made public, and the files were quietly buried again in the early 2000s. During early high-energy collisions at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, atomic clocks monitoring the site began to show minuscule but measurable discrepancies. Scientists noted in some tests clocks located near the collider would shift by fractions of a microsecond compared to those further away. This should not happen. Time dilation on that scale requires massive gravity or velocity. Some speculated that these could be miniature time slips caused by high energy distortions, possibly even evidence of quantum level glitches. CERN never formally claimed a malfunction of reality, but they did recalibrate every monitoring system afterward. In 2013, users on Reddit and Google Earth forums began reporting something strange. A small German town appeared as usual on Google Earth one day, then disappeared completely the next. Zooming in showed empty green space where buildings had been. Coordinates still worked, but all satellite imagery was gone. Then, 24 hours later, the town reappeared fully intact. Google never addressed the glitch, and there's no public record of map maintenance that day, so was it a software bug, or did reality briefly blink? During a solar eclipse in Zambia in 2022, astronomers and amateur photographers captured something they couldn't explain: a black dot hovering over the center of the sun for exactly 2.3 seconds. Not part of the moon, not a sunspot, just a void. Photos confirmed it, but live video feeds from the same locations showed nothing. Satellite logs from ESA and NASA recorded a momentary dip in light data, as if something absorbed the sun's radiation completely. Some dubbed it a data void. Others wonder if we briefly saw something not meant for us to see. In 2007, Lost Lake in Oregon mysteriously vanished. It happens actually every few years. The entire lake drains within 48 hours. But where does the water go? Geologists discovered a large hole at the bottom believed to be a lava tube from past volcanic activity, but even with that explanation, something just doesn't really add up. GPS mapping shows the volume of water disappearing is far greater than what a lava tube could handle, and it never floods nearby. It just vanishes. Scientists admit they have no complete model for what is going on here. In 1908, something exploded over the Siberian wilderness so violently that it flattened 800 square miles of forest, an area larger than the entire city of London. The shockwave knocked people off their feet hundreds of miles away, but when investigators arrived, they found nothing. No crater, no meteorite, just trees snapped in a radial pattern, some burned from the inside out. To this day, scientists still don't know what caused it. Was it a comet, a black hole, a pocket of antimatter? Whatever it was, it left behind one of the most powerful and unexplained events in Earth's history.
Number 5. Rain glitch. This one comes from Paris, when a man decided to take this video one day when the weather was acting up. Anytime you film weather, you always always know it's going to be a bad time. First of all, it's not abnormal for rain to hit one part of a city while other parts stay dry with clear skies. I've been there before. It's trippy, it's kind of fun, whatever. But this one here, this one takes the cake. It's just raining in one spot, like literally one specific spot. One tiny spot is absolutely getting poured down on, seemingly out of nowhere. But everywhere else is not. It's just a casual, nice day. Now at first I thought that maybe someone from above was pouring water, maybe, because that's what people do, I guess, in their spare time. But the video does pan up and you see nothing above this random rainfall, so we can check that off our boxes. People who are gathering outside and protesting against birds? I don't know what's going on. This glitch comes from a Reddit user called AmerXPOO from the time that they captured some birds behaving very strangely. So think what you want, but I think birds are real. Whatever. I'll let you take a look at the clip first and then we'll talk shop afterwards. When I first watched this, I 100% thought that it was photoshopped. I truly cannot believe that I was seeing this because there's just no way, right? From what you're seeing, these are animals. From the coordination of the flying all the way to the ripples of the color changes, I thought this was fake the entire time. It's not. As it turns out, this is actually perfectly explainable. This is called a murmur, and it basically is a defensive posture that birds take. Truly one of the coolest things that I've ever seen, hence why I thought that it was unbelievable. And there are more videos of it that you can actually look up, and I implore you to because it's fascinating. This is like bird choreography. This is next level. People don't believe that birds are real, and videos like this make me agree. Yeah, fair. 1 point for the bird Gryffindor. Are seagulls real? Pigeons aren't real. Pigeons are fucking weird. And finally, number 1, twins named Jim. Back in 1979, a set of twins were reunited. They were 39 at the time, and this was of course a big moment in their lives because for 37 years they barely knew of each other's existence. Yeah, that's pretty sad. When they did finally meet, the long lost twins had more in common than anybody ever thought. For starters, both had been named Jim. I spoiled that one in the fun title there. But both of these Jims, they loved math and carpentry. Okay. Both also had jobs in security. Okay. Their ex-wives were both named Linda. Okay, and they've since both married a woman named Betty. That's so many coincidences, I have no idea what's going on. Imagine meeting another you and he's like, oh yeah, I love knitting and Autobots. What are the odds? No way, that's way too eerie. That's a glitch in the Matrix or an alien clone. Something's not right here. I don't know. I'm glad you guys found each other, but maybe you weren't supposed to. Know what I mean? I've seen some movies. I've seen Black Mirror. That's all I'm saying.
In 1977, a Southern England news broadcast was hijacked by this strange voice claiming to be from the Ashtar Galactic Command. In 2015, a live Oklahoma City traffic report caught this fast-moving glowing object flying across the sky, and in 1992, a creepy BBC special caused mass panic and thousands of complaints before it was banned for over a decade. These are moments on live TV that scientists can't explain. So in 1977, during a regular news broadcast in southern England, the audio suddenly cut out. The picture went all fuzzy, and there was this buzzing noise. Then a strange metallic voice cut in, claiming to be Vrillon from the Ashtar Galactic Command. And for nearly 6 minutes it delivered this bizarre message, warning humanity to stop fighting, destroy its weapons, and prepare for a great awakening. It also told viewers that they were being watched and guided by beings from other worlds. The station was completely unaware of what was going on until people started calling in. Engineers figured out someone had hijacked the signal by targeting a specific transmitter that rebroadcast signals from another tower, basically exploiting a weak point in the system. But even still, they never found out who actually did this. Whoever it was, though, needed some serious technical skill and equipment. People have analyzed every part of this message. Some say it was just a prank, others think it was someone who genuinely wanted to put this message out there. And then there are those who actually think this message was coming from somewhere up in space. I'd love to believe that, but I don't. Back in March of 2015, Coco 5 News in Oklahoma City was running a normal early morning traffic report. Nothing exciting, just the usual aerial feed from their Grand Casino Skycam out in Shawnee. But then, out of nowhere, this glowing white object zipped across the screen at lightning speed. It was super fast, too fast to be a plane, and the movement doesn't look like a drone either. The news anchors didn't even notice it live. Viewers caught it first and started flooding the station with questions. To their credit, The news station didn't ignore it. They re-aired the footage and posted it online, asking the public to help figure out what it was. Problem is, nobody really could. It wasn't a meteor. Those fall. They don't fly sideways at a steady height. It wasn't a bug on the lens either. The light shifts as it moves, and you could see it behind distant clouds. It wasn't a military or commercial aircraft as far as anyone could tell, and it didn't match any scheduled flights. Despite being caught live on air and analyzed frame by frame, nobody's ever nailed down exactly what this thing was. Alright, this is an interesting one, because it's not what happened on TV that was the mysterious part, but what was going on with viewers while the broadcast was happening. So in 1992, the BBC aired a Halloween special called Ghost Watch. This was a fake documentary about a haunted house in North London. The thing is, most viewers didn't realize it was scripted. The show was presented like any other live broadcast, except the crew was investigating a poltergeist called Pipes. Viewers at home would catch glimpses of the ghostly figure of Pipes in the background of shots, and there would be weird audio glitches. On top of that, of course, the subject matter was just unsettling on its own. The atmosphere felt real. Too real. And as the broadcast went on, people started calling in to report their own paranormal experiences. Others were convinced that the show had invited an actual spirit into their homes. The BBC got tens of thousands of complaints. One girl reportedly entered a catatonic state after watching it. People were legitimately freaking out, even though the show had a brief disclaimer at the start. If you happened to tune in after it, you'd have no way of knowing that this was staged. The format fooled a lot of people, including some of the presenters who weren't even told everything that would happen. Scientists and psychologists later studied the public's reaction to the show, calling it a rare case of mass suggestion triggered by media. The show only aired once, and the BBC banned it for a decade. In November of 2024, a local New York TV station was doing live helicopter coverage of traffic over the Hudson River. Same old stuff, until this strange glowing orb floats into the frame, hovering, changing color, then darting out of view. It starts out white and then turns blue and kind of semi-translucent before flying off. The anchor didn't react at the moment, but when the clip was shared online, people started talking about it. Some blamed lens flares, some guessed maybe it was a drone, others said a weather balloon, but the object didn't behave like any of those. It hovered, it changed color, then accelerated. Not even the FAA had an answer. Don't film TikTok dances alone in dingy underground parking lots. You might have a shadow person morph out from the concrete and lurk behind your back. That's what happened to this girl. You gotta look really closely, but something does seem to appear right behind her, a dark, shadowy figure, not ominous at all. Who or what is it? Where did it come from? What does it want? I can't say. I just hope this girl wasn't engulfed by some nefarious dark force and dragged down to the depths of the shadow realm for eternity. If anyone knows if this person's done videos since, give us like a proof of life update in the comments. So this clip aired on CNN in early July 2009, just a couple weeks after Michael Jackson died. They were doing a segment from inside Neverland Ranch, walking through the house with a reporter giving commentary. After the segment aired though, a good number of people flocked to the internet claiming that they'd seen something odd in the footage. So in the background there was this dark, human-shaped figure moving across the far end of the hallway. At first glance it looks like a shadow, but there are a few things that made people take a second look. First, no one is visible walking around in that area at the time, and there's no crew member seen entering or exiting. That hallway is in full view and nothing else in the frame really explains the movement. And then when people started slowing it down and enhancing the footage, it got weirder. The shadow has a kind of upright human posture. It's not just a flicker of light, and you'll notice the shadow seems to cast its own faint shadow on the floor as it moves across. And then there's the shape itself. Some viewers pointed out the figure kind of matches that classic MJ silhouette, that tilted head, the gliding motion he was known for. Pretty weird stuff. Now, don't you just hate it when the book you're holding morphs into a completely different color? I mean, it just makes life so much more confusing than it needs to be. Watch this. Now, how did his book immediately change color like that? First thought is that he might have had more than one book and then switched them as he was walking behind the car, but that's not what it looks like at all. I don't see any shifting going on. His arms never change position. He's just walking in this smooth straight line, but then abruptly book goes from red to green. People posted all kinds of theories, but one dude on Reddit had a pretty interesting answer. User Yodan wrote, "I work graphics for the news. This is 110% some producer for the spot asking for that color change. It's super fast to key the color into another one, but I agree it's a dumb change. Better to have infographics or typography hammer home the point. Someone wanted to make something they thought was cool or cute and told like 2 or 3 other people down the line, just do it if they got pushback. Some days, I just think of reworks at 20 minutes to air. Make the green a blue. Why? Okay, now make the blue a green. Okay. So, yeah, really odd. I did not know changing the color of objects on the news was something they would ever bother with. And also, why didn't they switch the color of the book to green for the entire clip? Why does it go from red to green later on? I don't know. Weird. What would you do if you saw the sky glitch? You make a video about it, of course. TikToker Danny Amos Jr. happened to catch something very weird on camera. He'd been out turkey hunting when he decided to get a nice shot of the sky. The sun was rising. It looked really pretty. Now, as he was panning across the sky, though, something weird happened. Take a look at this. Did you see that weird flash in that one patch of the sky? Pretty bizarre. Now, it'd be easy to chalk this up to a glitch in the camera itself, but take a listen to what he says here.
I wasn't looking through the phone. Like, I was scanning the field, but I was like looking at the field, and I seen the sky do it.
Some people find cats really creepy, and if you're one of those people, this video won't make that aspect of your life any easier for you. I don't know much about this video other than it was filmed somewhere in China. It's pretty amazing. I mean, how eerily still this cat is. This is a pretty long clip, and it does not move. Its tail looks like it flutters in the wind a bit, maybe. People passing by also thought this was strange. They all stopped to stare and pull out their phones to document it. At first, I thought someone placed their taxidermied house cat on the street as a joke. I mean, why else would you stuff your dead pet? But then another cat sidles up and freezes as well. What the hell? Is there some kind of an animal maybe that they're trying to ambush? Cats will go still when they're hunting something, but for this long? And apparently some folks who were there said there were no objects on this section of the street that would have attracted the attention of the animals. So, I don't know. Glitch in the Matrix, or is this just a case of cats being cats, i.e. being weird? Notice anything strange about this image? This photo was shared on Reddit by Veruca Moon. You'll notice that one of the cars ahead has a license plate that says Peekaboo. Pretty cute. Until your eyes catch a car right next to it that says, I see you. Just a quirky coincidence, or is this the universe's subtle way of saying someone's always watching you? That's a creepy thought. If you're thinking the two cars might have been driving together as a joke, well, no. Veruca Moon said that they split off in different directions at the next intersection. Faces appearing on a Spanish kitchen floor. A Redditor takes a picture of 3 dogs, except they only have 2, and glowing balls of light over Washington, D.C., zipping faster than jets, hovering over the White House, disappearing when fighter planes went to investigate. These are disturbing photos that suggest we're living in a simulation. What you're looking at here is a photo of one of the Belmez faces. What are the Belmez faces, you ask? The story begins in 1971 in a little Spanish town called Belmez. A woman named Maria Gomez Camara looks down at her kitchen floor and swears that she sees a human face forming in the concrete. Not like a stain or a crack that kind of resembles something, an actual detailed face. Her husband and son freaked out, smashed the thing with a pickaxe, poured new concrete, but within days, another face appeared. Word spread, and the mayor himself told the family not to destroy this new one. Instead, chunks of the floor were cut out and taken away to be studied. Meanwhile, people started flocking to this house, which became known as the House of the Faces. And the faces didn't stop. Over the years, new ones popped up. Men and women, young and old. Some even seemed to change slightly over time, like they were alive in the concrete. Paranormal investigators floated the idea that it was thoughtography. Basically that Maria's house or her subconscious was somehow imprinting these faces from the spirit world onto the floor. Skeptics have tested samples and come back with theories about paint or chemicals, but in 2014, a forensic team tried to recreate the phenomenon, but they couldn't pull it off. Their conclusion? Inconclusive. To this day, these faces are still a mystery. This image was shared by Reddit user OKTwist3079. Doesn't look to be anything odd in this image at first glance. We got 3 cute dogs in Christmas outfits playing in the snow, but the Redditor only has 2 dogs. OKTwist writes, "I took this photo of my 2 dogs. So please explain how there are 3 dogs in the photo. No one was visiting and I have no idea how to use Photoshop. My mother-in-law is freaking out and I have no explanation." The fact that they're all wearing the same outfit and all in different positions, I'm just losing it. How? Now obviously this isn't double exposure. This was snapped on an Android phone. I'm no expert on camera glitches, but doesn't really look like one to me. Doesn't seem to be any interference in the image. Again, if you didn't have the context, you'd think this was a totally normal photo. Any ideas, folks? Genuine curiosity or hoax? Share your thoughts down below. What you're looking at here is photographic evidence of one of the most mysterious and well-documented UFO events in history. It started on the night of July 19th, 1952. Air traffic controllers at Washington National Airport picked up 7 unidentified objects on radar. Controllers said the blips looked solid, like actual aircraft. At the same time, pilots in the air were reporting strange lights moving above them. One pilot described them as glowing balls that shot across the sky faster than any jet could follow. Then radar at Andrews Air Force Base, just outside DC, confirmed the exact same objects. One point, controllers said the UFOs were hovering over the White House and Capitol building. Fighter jets were scrambled, but whenever they got close, the objects just vanished. As soon as the jets left, the UFOs came back. That little cat and mouse game happened over and over, not just that night, but again a week later on July 26th. The press went wild. Headlines in major papers screamed "saucers swarm over Capitol." It got so insane that President Truman personally asked for a briefing. The Air Force didn't really have an explanation, but they just said, well, it's temperature inversion, basically a rare weather condition that can cause issues for radar, but that of course doesn't explain the pilots who saw lights with their own eyes.
You think reality is solid and predictable? Well, think again. From strange lights dancing in the night sky to top secret government experiments gone wrong, our world is full of genuine mysteries that still boggle the mind. In this video, we'll jump into some of the craziest glitches and unexplained phenomena out there, all based on true events or declassified projects. Get ready for some jaw-dropping stories, each more bizarre than the last. Buckle up because reality might not be as straightforward as you think. Imagine a World War II destroyer disappearing into a green fog. Literally vanishing. That's the claim of the legendary Philadelphia experiment. According to lore, in October 1943, the USS Eldridge was outfitted with secret equipment that rendered it invisible and even teleported it 200 miles away. Witnesses allegedly saw a green mist, and when the ship reappeared, crewmen were inexplicably fused to the metal or driven insane. The US Navy, however, has debunked this story. Official archives say no such teleportation experiment ever occurred, and that Eldridge was never even in Philadelphia at the time. Still, the tale persists as a mind-bending glitch, a mix of rumor, a novel, and possibly misinterpreted World War II tests. Picture walking on a beach and stumbling over a rotten, strange beast, a fur-covered blob with sharp teeth and no eyes. That is exactly what happened at Montauk, New York in 2008. A hunter found a decaying carcass washed ashore and snapped photos of this Montauk monster, sparking wild speculation. News reports said the creature looked otherworldly. Some claimed it was a secret lab animal from Plum Island, or even a leftover of a notorious Montauk Project experiments. More on that later. Experts eventually suggested it was probably a bloated raccoon carcass, but the mystery caught fire online. For days, people debated whether this was science, conspiracy, or a plain animal that nobody could recognize. It was Christmas 1980 in Suffolk, England, and US Air Force personnel at 2 bases saw something straight out of science fiction. Late on December 26th, witnesses reported strange lights flashing above Rendlesham Forest. Men with radar even tracked an object disappear behind the trees. A patrol sent in found a triangular craft with glowing lights and 3 landing legs. When soldiers approached, the craft vanished and some men lost consciousness for a few minutes during the encounter. The next night, the deputy base commander led a larger search party. They measured abnormally high radiation at the strange landing site, and multiple groups watched colored beams, a dome-shaped object, and figures moving inside it. To this day, the UFO landing remains one of the most credible military encounters on record. Even a US senator secretly investigated and hinted it was linked to other unexplained UFO events. Whether you believe in aliens or not, the Rendlesham Forest incident is a documented reality bend that has never been fully explained. Deep in a Norwegian valley, something glowing and inexplicable has been appearing since the 1980s. Residents of Hessdalen started seeing mysterious lights in the sky, glowing orbs hovering over the valley floor, darting through the woods, and even following vehicles. Hundreds of these lights were logged. At the peak, up to 20 per week would pop up above Hessdalen. Scientists got involved, of course. In 1983, they launched Project Hessdalen to record and study the phenomenon. In 1 month of fieldwork, they documented 53 occurrences. The lights are typically white or yellow, sometimes pulsating or moving in odd ways. Even today, local cameras capture about 20 sightings a year. No one has nailed down a definitive cause, and theories range from unusual atmospheric plasma to car headlights on distant roads. Okay, this one is terrifyingly real. The US government did conduct mind control experiments on unwitting people. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA ran a secret program called MKUltra to explore chemical interrogation and behavior control. Under MKUltra, agents dosed hospital patients, prisoners, and even unsuspecting civilians with certain illicit substances. They tried hypnosis, electroshock, and sensory deprivation. Anything to manipulate the human mind. Most records of MKUltra were ordered destroyed, but enough evidence leaked out. We know that it happened. Government reviewers have confirmed MKUltra was active in the 1950s and that many original documents were purposely shredded by top CIA officials. The full extent of the experiments is still unknown, and in casual terms, the CIA really did try to make people hallucinate and break them mentally, a shocking glitch in reality where trusted institutions harmed real human beings. This one isn't a glitch in the video, it's a glitch in the broadcast itself, and it's straight up like something out of a techno thriller. In November 1987, Chicago sportscaster Dan Roan was doing the nightly news when suddenly the signal hijacked. TV screens went black for a second, and then viewers were suddenly staring at a bizarre figure. Someone in a Max Headroom mask bobbing around in front of a swiveling metal background. No sound, just 30 seconds of this super creepy masked intruder. Engineers managed to regain control on that channel, but it wasn't over. About 2 hours later, during a Doctor Who episode on another station, Max Headroom hacker struck again, this time with audio. The masked person spoke in distorted garbles, laughed, moaned, even exposed their bare behind to the camera while being spanked with a fly swatter. Yeah, it was really weird. After about 90 seconds, the pirate broadcast ended. Viewers and station officials were completely baffled. Who was that? How did they break into major TV station signals? The Federal Communications Commission launched an investigation, but to this day, the culprits have still never been caught or identified. Even decades later, watching the Max Headroom incident on YouTube will give you a serious case of the heebie-jeebies. Somebody has the chance to have the best deathbed confession of all time. Imagine your grandfather, you're saying your final goodbyes, and he's like, I was Max Headroom. That would be crazy. When a news crew crew went looking for ghost stories, they might have gotten more than they bargained for. In 2021, WNYT News Channel 13 in upstate New York did a live report from the Green Ridge Cemetery as part of a Halloween segment. Reporter Sam Hessler was on air in the pre-dawn hours, walking among the tombstones while a guide shared spooky historical tales. The broadcast went smoothly until viewers at home noticed something on their screens that even the crew on site missed. In the background, behind Sam, a misty white figure seemed to drift between the graves. It was brief and subtle, a flicker of what looked like a person or a fog moving fast. After the live shot, one astonished viewer alerted the station, and Sam herself was stunned reviewing the footage. She hadn't seen anything in person. WNYT later acknowledged the eerie moment, assuring folks the clip was unedited and truly aired live. The internet, of course, lit up with ghost caught on live TV posts and theories. Some paranormal enthusiasts called it one of the best accidental ghost sightings on a news broadcast, evidence of a spirit roaming the cemetery. Skeptics countered that it could have been a camera glitch, a passing car's headlights reflecting, or even a stray piece of insect or dust close to the lens creating a blur. The station's own write-up teased it as something almost too crazy to be real and encouraged viewers to watch and decide for themselves. You're watching HGTV and suddenly an emergency alert pops up warning that the end of the world is here. What do? That nightmare scenario actually happened to some TV viewers in Southern California in September 2017. Without warning, regular programming was interrupted by the emergency alert system. The typical alert banner scrolled, but then things got truly terrifying. A booming male voice came on and proclaimed, "Realize this, that in the last days extremely violent times will come." Imagine hearing that out of the blue on a Thursday morning and you're just trying to love it or list it. Understandably, people freaked out. It sounded like a prophecy of an imminent apocalypse or some wartime broadcast. As dramatic as it was, this turned out not to be the work of pranksters or an alien overlord, but simply a technical glitch and incredibly bad timing during a routine test of the emergency alert system. In short, the system glitched out and aired a fire and brimstone sermon by mistake. Cox and Spectrum cable customers heard what sounded like a doomsday warning, but it was just Pastor Chuck Swindoll quoting the Bible, 2 Timothy 3:1, on an FM station. Both the cable company and the FCC confirmed it was an error, not a hack, but not before scaring the heck out of viewers. In the middle of a live US Congress debate, viewers suddenly saw something Russian. In January 2017, politics junkies watching a C-SPAN online feed got a strange surprise. The feed, which was showing a live House of Representatives session, abruptly switched to Russia Today, the Kremlin-funded news channel, for about 10 minutes. Given that this occurred amid intense news about Russian cyber interference, many thought C-SPAN had been hacked by Russians in real time. C-SPAN quickly investigated and put out a statement. They didn't believe it was a hack, but rather a routing technical error. The leading theory is that some glitch caused the RT feed to literally overlap and replace the C-SPAN feed on their site. In simulation terms, it's like two different programs momentarily cross-wired. The timing, however, was almost comical. It happened just hours after a power outage oddly halted a Senate hearing about Russian hacking. Even Waters, whose speech was interrupted, remarked on the curious timing and demanded a clear explanation. Seeing Moscow news pop up in a US government broadcast felt like a scene from a spy movie, or a reminder that the simulation has a twisted sense of humor. Our final glitch was literally one word caught in an endless loop, and of course, that word was Russia. Also in January 2017, I guess a bad month for TV gremlins, MSNBC's show Hardball experienced a freaky moment. Journalist Dave Ignatius was talking to host Chris Matthews about, ironically, Russian interference in US politics. He said the word Russia and bang. The screen flickered and started repeating Russia, Russia, Russia over and over in a feedback loop. Chris Matthews looked confused as the glitch kept going for several seconds, seconds, echoing Russia in a creepy cadence until the control room cut to commercial. Given the climate at the time, Twitter exploded with jokes that Moscow hackers or the Kremlin Matrix had struck again, but most likely this was just a bizarre technical malfunction. Perhaps a failing satellite feed or encoding error that caused a few seconds of audio/video to loop. The fact it looped that particular word on that particular topic, well, that was gold for conspiracy lovers and also late-night comedians. MSNBC assured it wasn't intentional and nothing nefarious was found. Have you ever felt like reality is off? Like something isn't quite right in the world around us? Well, get ready to question everything you thought you knew. In this video, we are diving deep into the simulation theory and uncovering 10 chilling clues that suggest our existence might be nothing more than lines of code in a hyper-realistic computer program. Starting off, we are talking about the argument of high probability. Some philosophers, like Nick Bostrom, have cooked up a theory that feels like it can't be real, but it is actually taken quite seriously by some scientists. They say there's a high chance that we are living in a simulation. Bostrom argues that one of these three scenarios is probably true. First, that extinction is the norm. Almost all civilizations out there, like ours, never make it past a certain point. They wipe themselves out or get destroyed before they can really get advanced technology. It's a little bit terrifying, right? Imagine countless civilizations reaching the brink of greatness only to fall into the abyss of extinction. It's like cosmic Russian roulette. The second scenario is that no one's playing games. The advanced civilizations that do make it decide running simulations of their past, like their own version of super advanced ancestry.com, is boring or pointless. So they don't bother creating these massive virtual worlds to see what their ancestors were like. The third scenario is that this is all make-believe. Definitely the scariest of the scenarios, that we are actually living in a giant computer game right now. That our entire universe with its stars, planets, and morning coffee is just some super advanced alien software running on a cosmic computer. So why is this unsettling? Well, if we're in a simulation, then who's controlling it? What happens if they decide to hit the off switch? It's like being a character in someone else's video game, and it makes you wonder, are our choices really our own, or are we just following the pre-written code of some cosmic programmer? This theory gives a whole new meaning to the question, what is reality? And honestly, it's a little bit spooky when you really think about it. Next, we are talking about the second law of infodynamics. So a physicist studying the mutations of the SARS-CoV-2 virus has stirred up quite the conversation with claims that hint we might be living in a simulated universe. Dr. Melvin Vopson, the scientist behind these claims, introduces, quote, the second law of infodynamics, suggesting that mutations in the virus aren't random but follow this new law. He's found that information entropy, a measure of disorder from an information perspective, decreases over time in these mutations, opposing what we see with typical entropy, which increases. This discovery is more than just a quirky observation. Vopson argues it could flip our understanding of evolution on its head and even hint at a universe that's more orderly and deterministic than we thought. He connects this to the idea that the universe might be a giant simulation, designed with data optimization to minimize computational needs. In his studies, particularly with the ever-mutating SARS-CoV-2, Vopson has observed patterns that he believes can't be dismissed as random. He suggests that if we start viewing genetic mutations deterministically, we could potentially predict mutations before they happen, which could revolutionize genetic therapies and vaccine development. However, the physics community is still skeptical, and more research is needed to test these very bold ideas. Vopson's theory, while intriguing, remains on the fringe, and proving it might involve experiments that check if information itself has mass, a concept that could tie back to everything from the heat death of the universe to why symmetry is so common in nature. So while the second law of infodynamics opens up fascinating possibilities, it is a long road from hypothesis to accepted science, especially with claims this big. But Who knows? Sometimes the strangest ideas lead to the most profound discoveries. Next, we are talking about the limitations in the laws of physics. So think about the speed of light. Nothing can go faster, right? It's like the universe has a top speed limit, and no matter what you do, you can't break it. This reminds some people of a video game, where the game can only process things so fast, so it sets limits to keep everything running smoothly. Then there's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, a weird rule in quantum mechanics that says you can't know both the position and the speed of a tiny particle at the same time. It's as if the universe saves on processing power by not deciding where something is until it absolutely has to, kind of like a game that only loads the parts of the world you're looking at to save memory. These rules of physics might make you wonder if they're just programming constraints in a giant cosmic simulation set up to keep things manageable for whatever's running the show. Isn't it a bit like we're living in a cleverly crafted game where certain things are off limits to prevent the whole system from crashing? It's definitely a wild thought, but it sure makes you look at those science class lessons a little bit differently. Next, we are talking about the observer effect. So have you ever heard of the downright bizarre behavior of particles in the quantum world? In quantum mechanics, things get really weird because particles, like electrons, don't settle on a specific location or path until we actually check up on them. Kind of like they're all potential and no decision until observed. This quirkiness is known as quantum indeterminacy and the observer effect. So now think about how video games work. Alright, it's just the easiest parallel, so there's going to be a lot of video game talk. They don't bother rendering every single part of the game world all at once. Instead, they only show you what's in your current view to save on the processing power. It's like the game is saying, why bother with the rest if you're not even looking there? This is eerily similar to what's happening at the quantum level. It's as if our universe is running a super efficient simulation, doing calculations only when necessary to make sure it doesn't waste any resources. This parallel makes some folks wonder if maybe, just maybe, we're living in some sort of cosmic video game where things aren't fully decided until they need to be. Next, we are talking about mathematical consistencies. Have you ever noticed how everything in the universe seems to follow a specific set of rules, almost like it's all part of a gigantic mathematical equation? Pretty wild when you actually think about it, from the way the planets orbit the sun to how your coffee spreads out when you spill it. There's math everywhere. This isn't just a coincidence. The universe is actually incredibly consistent and can be described really well using mathematical principles, just like a computer program. This consistency is what gets some people thinking. Maybe our universe is a bit like a game or a simulation. I mean, really just think about it. In video games, everything from the graphics to the physics is governed by code, by math. So when scientists find that even the most chaotic and complex systems in our universe can still be nailed down with equations, it makes you wonder if there's some sort of computational foundation underneath it all. So why is this exciting? Well, it suggests that maybe our whole universe could be running on a vast cosmic computer with every star, planet, and galaxy following a set of mathematical instructions. It's like the universe is a giant puzzle and math is the key to unlocking its secrets. I feel like that's a nightmare for a lot of us. Like, oh no, not math. The one thing I can't understand. I actually like math. Well, I guess we all have to. Late at night near Marfa, Texas, locals and tourists have reported seeing balls of light dancing just above the desert floor. Called the Marfa lights, these glowing orbs, often the size of basketballs and colored white, blue, yellow, or red, appear completely out of nowhere. Witnesses say the lights can merge together, split apart, hover in the air, or zip off into the distance. What makes it creepier is that they only show up about a dozen nights a year, with no pattern in sight. The first known sighting was in 1883, and the legends grew from ghosts of Spanish explorers to secret alien bases. Scientists have weighed in with more down-to-earth ideas, maybe heated air layers bending distant car headlights, a mirage called a fata morgana, or swirls of methane gas igniting. Some physics students even filmed headlights and got similar glows. Yet even with these theories, no one can completely explain why the lights behave so oddly. There are nights moments when folks line up with cameras and see nothing, only for the sky to erupt in orbs the next. Scientists still admit nobody knows for sure what they are. The Marfa lights remain a true frontier of mystery, a shimmering glitch on the highway to the underworld. We think of the moon as dead and lifeless sometimes, but one mystery suggests it still holds secrets. Spacecraft orbiting the moon have detected strong, localized magnetic fields locked in some lunar rocks, especially on the far side. That's weird because today the moon has no global magnetic field or active core like Earth does. Submagnetism was expected from billions of years ago when the moon was molten inside, but the amounts on the far side just don't add up. Why are certain patches of lunar soil so strongly magnetized? A team from MIT recently suggested that a gigantic asteroid impact billions of years ago might have blasted the moon with a cloud of plasma and shock waves, magnetizing rocks across the globe. Their computer models show this could explain some of the anomalies on the far side, but even with that theory, the moon's magnetic map has, quote, large parts still unexplained. In other words, nobody has the complete answer yet. The moon seems to be playing a cosmic shell game with magnetism, leaving geologists scratching their heads. It's not a glitch you'd see with your eyes, but a hidden quirk in the moon's memory. And until we bring back more samples, the full story is still up in the air. In March 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished with 239 people on board. That part is very well known. But what's lesser known is an alternative theory involving the US military base on Diego Garcia, an extremely remote island in the Indian Ocean. Some data suggested the flight veered off course and flew for hours before vanishing a second time, this time near where Diego Garcia is located. Adding to the mystery, multiple people, including a US-based tech worker named Philip Wood, allegedly sent messages from their phones after the disappearance. Wood's supposed message, posted online days later, claimed he was being held on Diego Garcia and included metadata that some claimed pointed to the island. While many dismissed this as a hoax, others were stunned by the implications. There's no confirmed explanation and the US has never acknowledged anything unusual, but here's the glitch. How did a commercial flight vanish from modern radar, ping satellites for hours, and possibly transmit data from a military zone? Whether the metadata was faked or not, the story stirred paranoia worldwide. It feels like a window into a shadowy corner of our world where time, truth, and tracking technology all failed at once. In the 1970s, a man named Derek Smith was walking near the abandoned RAF Montrose airfield in Scotland when he said he witnessed something out of time. He reported seeing a vintage aircraft, a World War I biplane, approach the field and begin to land. As the plane touched down, the vision faded. The sight was so vivid that Smith later researched the airfield's history and discovered that a pilot named Lieutenant Desmond Arthur had died in a biplane crash there in 1913. What makes this story more chilling is that it wasn't an isolated incident. Over the years, other visitors to RAF Montrose have described similar sightings: a ghostly plane circling, phantom engines humming, and even full apparitions of early 20th century airmen walking the field. Some theories suggest a, quote, time slip, a localized distortion where moments from the past replay in our present. Unlike typical ghost stories, these sightings were investigated by historians and even Air Force personnel who confirmed the area's long-standing reputation. The Royal Air Force eventually fenced off parts of the site, whether it was trauma imprinted on the land or something stranger. RAF Montrose became a real-world glitch where time didn't play by the rules.
Starting our list off at number 10, Tyson fight glitch. Alright, this one takes place in 1995, and it may be a glitch, but it also could be a time travel illusion or some sort of wind trick here, but it's just very strange to see a plane that is that close to the ground that isn't either ascending or descending. It's just kind of there. Is it possible that the clear skies made it more difficult to see the movement of the plane? I don't know, someone help me out in the comments down below because I can't sleep. Number 7, another plane glitch. This video comes from a flight to Edinburgh, which is a flight that I've done many times myself. It's beautiful. The passenger began taking a video of the propeller on the side of the plane when they caught this strange glitch in the matrix. More more than fair. This propeller is of course moving, or else, well, we'd probably know, but it appears as though it is not. How fun is that? It's a fun, scary optical illusion when you're thousands of feet into the air. This is due to the speed of the propeller and the camera's shutter speed, you know, being synchronized, looking a little bit funky. Now we see this often with helicopters, but to see it in a plane that high up from your point of view, that's a bit different. That's a bit more jarring. Number 6, Yanni and Laurel. Remember this Yanni Laurel thing back in 2018? I'm still talking about it. It still fucked me up. I heard Yanni for like 2 weeks, and then one day I listened back, and then it was Laurel all of a sudden, and then my life changed forever. Couldn't go back. This got everybody talking. What is this phenomenon that happens? Is this a glitch in the Matrix? How can you hear one thing and then a completely different sound moments later? The dress fiasco as well. Black and blue, white and gold. We see it often. What the hell is actually happening here?
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
While many believe that these viral illusions are proof that we're living in a simulation. And while these arguments are fun, they really just prove that we perceive reality in our own individual way. Everybody is living an individually perceived reality, so sometimes it doesn't align across the board. Sometimes I hear Laurel while you hear Yanni. And now I can't go back, and now I always hear that stuck in my head. It's just Laurel. God, I hated this.
What you're seeing here is news coverage in Laos of a mysterious phenomenon known as the Naga fireballs. Every year in late October, crowds gather along the Mekong River in Thailand to watch red balls of light float up from the water and then vanish into the night sky. They're called Naga fireballs, and locals say they're caused by a giant serpent spirit that lives in the river. The orbs don't make any noise, they come out of nowhere and they rise fast, sometimes hundreds in one night. There's been a lot of debate about what's really going on here. A Thai documentary once claimed it was just tracer rounds being fired by soldiers across the river in Laos. Others have blamed flare guns or some kind of flammable gas bubbling up from the riverbed, like methane or phosphine, but none of those explanations totally hold up. The balls don't behave like flares, and scientists pointed out that the conditions needed for gas bubbles to ignite like that don't really line up. In 2021, during a strict curfew, officials made sure there were no people out with flares, and the fireballs still showed up. This footage was taken in downtown Milwaukee in 2018 during a live broadcast. The news anchors had no idea what they were looking at. Fireworks? Aliens? They joked. It's very strange. This doesn't even look like your typical UAP footage. These things aren't moving in any sort of recognizable pattern. They're just floating in every which direction. They almost look like ghosts zipping through the air than any artificial object. And there are so many of them. It's really cool, but if I saw this in person, I'd be pretty unsettled. What do you all think of this one? If someone can enlighten me as to what this could be, please share your thoughts down below. This next one comes from a 2017 episode of the British talk show This Morning, featuring a couple and their possessed doll. The chair it sat on started to rock on its own several times throughout the interview.
That chair's beginning to rock.
Rocking.
Look at that.
Who's doing that? Stop it.
The owner said that she and her husband had been walking by an antique store when they spotted a few old-looking dolls. The couple decided to buy a few of them because they were cheap and figured they might be able to flip them for more. Well, as soon as the dolls came home with them, strange things started to happen. They had one doll, the one they brought to the TV studio, sitting on the dresser in their room. Well, one morning the husband got up, hopped in the shower, and then suddenly felt this burning sensation on his leg.
And I looked down and there was a lot of scratches all over my knee.
They put the doll in their shed inside a plastic bin. Well, a couple days later, the wife went in and opened the bin, only to find that somehow the doll's necklace had been removed, even though it had been wrapped up tightly on the doll initially. And that night she woke up at 2 a.m. hearing this whooshing noise moving past the bed, almost like the rustling of clothing, or more specifically, a dress. There was nothing there. They ended up selling the doll. Did Pope Francis vanish into thin air on live TV? This was filmed back in April of 2020. The Pope showed up at the window above St. Peter's Square to bless people affected by the pandemic. Then he turned around and walked back inside, only before he was out of camera range, he suddenly just vanishes. You don't see him slowly disappear into the shadows. He's just there 1 second, then he's not. It's pretty bizarre. It's hard to find the original news segment online too, because it was taken down for some reason. 2010, a Jamaican news station covered a story about a boy who claimed that he was being haunted by a duppy, basically a ghost. And the news team captured two strange incidents on camera. First, the boy is sitting in a chair talking about the strange experiences when all of a sudden he flies backward, as if something is pulling him. Then later in the segment, the boy claims to see the spirit standing close by watching him, and then he gets pulled again. At least that's what it looks like. Now, notice how one of his legs is in the air as he continues to move backward. And then when his mom grabs him, his legs like flip around like they're being grabbed at by someone, only we can't actually see anyone. It could be faked, but it is a damn good performance by this kid if it is. Alright, so at first glance, this just looks like some streaker running around a soccer field. If you're watching casually, you might even laugh it off, but the longer you watch, the weirder this footage is. This figure shows up from multiple camera angles, dashing through the crowd and along the edge of the field, and nobody reacts, like at all. No one turns their head, no one flinches, it's like they don't even see it. Then you notice this thing doesn't look fully solid, it's kind of see-through. There's a moment where it looks like it passes right through a group of people. Plus, this person actually ends up on the field, and if you know anything about stadium security, you know the second someone who's not meant to be there steps foot on the grass, they're getting tackled and dragged off. But here, nothing happens. A man appears out of thin air at Disneyland like an NPC in a video game. A woman opens her jewelry box to find a third identical ring that was not there before, and during a live airport interview, a woman simply vanishes mid-shot. These are real-time reality glitches were caught on camera. Disneyland, the most magical place on earth, they say. I've never been, but I think I might need to check it out now, because apparently if you're lucky enough, at just the right moment, you may have a big bearded man in a red shirt teleport out of nowhere right in front of you. Take a look for yourself. Wow. It's breathtaking. I can almost feel the spirit of my long-buried childhood dreams rising up through my ever-decaying body as we speak. You know what? Maybe, just maybe, magic really does exist. Who is the bearded, red-shirt man? Is he from some other place and time? The ghost of a long-forgotten, starry-eyed park guest? A father forever doomed to stroll the park in search of a family that has long since moved on after his untimely passing? Or is he just a man like you and me? If you are a man, that is. A person, how about? Is he just a person like you and me who done got glitched? We may never know, and that's the real magic, my friends. In the early 2000s, we have The Lord of the Rings, but in 2025, TikTok proudly presents yet another epic saga involving finger jewelry. Ladies and gentlemen, buys and tries, this is the beloved classic tale finally brought to the computer screen, The Glitch of the Rings. So this lady was about to head out to the house for a dental appointment. She takes off her rings and goes to put them in her jewelry box. The last thing you ever want to do is show up at the dentist with a ring on your finger. Well, when she opens her jewelry box, she notices that there's suddenly a third copy of one of her rings. Where, oh where, did that third copy of the ring come from? Did two realities cross over, causing a glitch? Is there a parallel universe running right next to this one where this same lady is making a TikTok video being like, one of my rings is missing? Probably, yes. I can't think of another explanation, so that means there isn't one. So this happened during a live TV interview at a Copenhagen airport. A guy is being interviewed for a Danish sports center, and in the background, there's a lot going on. Like most airports, there are people grabbing their bags, chatting, usual airport stuff. But keep your eye on the woman with the blonde hair. Now, at one point, right in front of her, you see a woman with a luggage cart. The woman with the luggage passes by the blonde woman just for a brief, very brief moment, and then this happens. The woman just vanishes. Where'd she go? She's there 1 second, and then she's gone right in the middle of the shot. There's no obvious edit. It's not a camera cut. Naturally, people online started losing their minds, trying to figure out how that even happened. It's probably just a weird perspective thing, but still, it's a very bizarre watch. I just hope that woman isn't somewhere in the Twilight Zone or something. Now, what exactly happened here? This dude throws a flip-flop into the air, which just vanishes out of thin air on its way back down. Already insane, but then the guys are looking up at this small glowing light in the sky. Take a look at this. It's just hovering there in place right over their heads, and then it zips away. I don't know how to describe what I just watched. Addressing the flip-flop part first though, I read one commenter saying that it just fell onto or behind the roof in the background, which no. Watch it again. That is not what that looks like at all. The flip-flop is thrown directly overhead and the roof is behind them, plus it vanishes while still in the air. It doesn't look like something falling behind another object. Some people are saying the weird orb thing is a bird. If so, why is it just hovering in place like that? Also, it doesn't look or move like a bird at all. At least not a bird I've ever seen. Small drone, maybe, but a bird? I don't think so. Ah, the internet. If it didn't exist, we'd never get to witness inexplicable stuff like this unless it showed up on America's Funniest Home Videos or something. Well, this car's clearly totaled. Whoever was in that car must have been pancaked to death, right? Wrong. On a November evening in 1988, Rose Benvenuto swerved to avoid hitting a stray dog in upstate New York, resulting in this brutal crash. Most people would have been killed, but somehow, remarkably, Rose walked away with barely a scratch. That's when things got even stranger, because a firefighter named Sharon Boo took pictures of the wrecked car, and in one of her shots, the one we're looking at again here, there's clearly this glowing, transparent figure hovering by the vehicle. The figure is ghost-like, you can see through it, but it's clearly there in the image. And the figure showed up not only in that print, but also on the negative, so it wasn't a development trick or double exposure. Both Rose and Sharon went on to label the figure a guardian angel, maybe the very being that saved Rose's life. Reddit user Naku Pandwa posted this image. My dad got me these when I was a youngish teenager from a trip they went on to Las Vegas, they write. I've only ever had this one set. It was spilled in the drawer, so I started putting them back in and ... And yeah, this is pretty strange. Obviously, stuff like this can easily be faked, but let's just say this Reddit user did happen to experience this. I'd be pretty unsettled. I mean, there are only 6 spaces in that container for 6 dice. Unless someone snuck an extra one in there as a prank, I don't have a solid explanation for this. Is this bus driving back from a Taylor Swift concert? Whoever was running the simulation when this image was taken just forgot to attend the diversity and inclusion seminar that morning. Or they just got lazy and decided to hit copy and paste and call it a day. Or I don't know, maybe they're all related? Or they could be one of those female friend groups that are all just blonde ladies, like with barely any discernible physical differences. Someone described them as maybe basic, drink a lot of Starbucks, their fiancés' names are Brad, they talk about Jesus a lot, you know the crowd. I've never actually hung out with people like this, but you know, am I reading too much into it? Probably. But am I probably right? Probably. So this is nuts. Are they doppelgangers? I mean, not only do they look very similar in size, shape, and face, but their clothes match, they have the same backpacks, their drinks are the same, for God's sakes. It seems too uncanny to be a coincidence. So there's a good chance they're also twins. If that's the case, then this is just hilarious. You don't really see adult twins dressing the exact same clothes, buying the same knapsacks and beverages, unless it's a cartoon, or possibly, in this case, a simulation. Back in October, people near Grissom Joint Air Reserve Base in Indiana got a front row seat to something strange in the sky. Multiple glowing orange orbs, at least 6, were seen darting around, hovering, flickering, and then just disappearing. Witnesses were pretty freaked out. It wasn't just what people saw with their eyes either. One observer checked their Doppler radar and noticed a massive rectangular shape with a vapor shock wave trailing behind it. That's basically a trail that happens when something moves insanely fast through the air. The shape was estimated to be about 20 miles long. Naturally, skeptics chimed in. Alejandro Rojas from Enigma Labs said it might just be military flares, pointing to the way the lights lit up and faded in a row, but that doesn't explain everything, especially since this wasn't an isolated incident. Similar UFO sightings popped up near other military bases, like in Virginia just months earlier. What you're looking at here are burns on a woman's hands, and this is a newspaper clipping of the same woman's hair starting to fall out in clumps. These unsettling images are photographic evidence of the Cash Landrum incident. On the night of December 29, 1980, 3 people in Texas had a disturbing encounter with a UFO. Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and Vicki's grandson Colby were driving home when they noticed this massive diamond-shaped object hovering over the trees. It was throwing off flames, extreme heat. At first, Vicki thought that this was a religious sign, something like the Second Coming. She told Betty to stop the car, but once they got out, the heat was just unbearable. The thing was so hot that when Betty touched the car, her hand burned and Vicki's handprint got seared into the dashboard. As the object suddenly started climbing back into the sky, a swarm of military helicopters appeared and surrounded it. But the aftermath is what really pushes this story into the disturbing territory. That night, all 3 of them started to feel sick. Betty ended up with blisters, her hair started falling out, and later she was diagnosed with cancer. Vicki developed a cataract. Their symptoms seemed to line up eerily well with radiation exposure. They eventually sued the US government for $20 million, pointing to those helicopters as proof that the military knew more than they were letting on, but the case was dismissed. To this day, no one can fully explain what they ran into on that empty Texas road. This is one of the most famous images ever taken of a mysterious phenomenon over the skies of Norway. In the Hasdalen Valley of Norway, people keep reporting these strange glowing lights that just can't be explained. They'll show up in the middle of the night or sometimes during the day, sometimes floating for over an hour, other times flashing across the sky in just seconds. They don't always look the same either. Sometimes they're white, sometimes red or yellow, and they'll drift slowly or dart around. Scientists have tried to explain them as some kind of natural plasma caused by the metals in the hills reacting with the environment, but that doesn't match every sighting. The movements are just too strange. That's why Hasdalen is still considered one of the most active UFO hotspots in the world.
This one sounds completely made up, but has a cult following. In the 1970s and 80s, a decommissioned Air Force base at Montauk, Camp Hero, was rumored to host ultra-secret experiments. In 1992, book Montauk Project Experiments in Time claimed that Montauk became ground zero for bizarre research, from mind control and psychic spying to time travel and dimensional portals. According to the story, scientists built a giant radar tower and tunnel system under Camp Hero. Conspiracy believers talk about thousands of people being taken and turned into these mutant super soldiers controlled by the program. The authors claimed they themselves recovered memories of being experimented on there. There's zero official proof that this ever happened, and the book is widely considered fiction, but the legend still persists. To many, this is a glitch in history, a sensational mix of truth and tall tales that links secret Cold War tech with ideas ripped from a comic book. Whether real or not, the Montauk Project conspiracy adds a very strange chapter to our reality's more unbelievable stories. Imagine a thunderstorm. Suddenly, a fiery ball about the size of a basketball floats into the room through the window and then zaps out of existence. Sounds impossible, and that's exactly what numerous eyewitnesses claim happens with ball lightning. Across history, people report glowing spheres darting through air storms, lasting a few seconds and then vanishing or exploding. Scientists have taken these reports seriously. In fact, a recent review notes that thousands of eyewitness accounts exist, but no one has a solid theory for ball lightning. Instruments rarely capture it since it's unpredictable, so most evidence is anecdotal. The lack of consensus means ball lightning remains a genuine unsolved mystery in atmospheric physics. In other words, nature itself can occasionally glitch, creating luminous orbs that defy explanation and leave observers scratching their heads. Here's a glitch from the world of radio. Imagine you hit the button on your ham radio and call out, "Hello." Then 10 seconds later, you come back on the radio answering yourself. That is the bizarre, long-delayed echo phenomenon. First recorded in 1927 by Norwegian hobbyist Jørgen Hals, he heard a faint echo of a Dutch radio station's signal about 3 seconds after the original transmission. To this day, occasionally a strong radio pulse will return with a multi-second delay, far longer than normal sky wave bounces, which take fractions of a second. Scientists have proposed everything from Earth's magnetosphere reflections to bouncing off spacecraft, but there is no consensus explanation. It's a genuine time warp effect in real life. You speak into the ether and then hear an answer way later, as if reality itself slowed down the signal. Late at night, you tune your shortwave radio and suddenly a monotone voice starts reciting random numbers. 7, 3, 4, over and over again. No music, no announcer, just mysterious numbers. These are numbers stations, and they date back to at least World War I. To most of us, they sound spooky and inexplicable, but they are real. Espionage experts believe these stations broadcast coded messages to spies in the field. The sequences of numbers are prearranged codes. Only the intended listener with a matching key can decode them. The stations often have catchy nicknames, and they pop up at scheduled times or seemingly sometimes at random. Despite being understood as spy tools, they feel mysterious. Strangers on the airwaves shouting numbers with no explanation. Amateur sleuths still hunt for new stations and try to crack their codes. Number stations are a real-life oddity, a ghostly radio background of human history that feels as if reality is speaking in cipher. The harsh Ural Mountains of 1959 saw one of history's most gruesome mysteries. A group of 9 experienced Russian hikers set up camp on the slope of a mountain pass now named Dyatlov Pass, but something terrifying happened that night. Searchers later found the tent slashed open from the inside, and the hikers' belongings were left behind. The bodies were scattered around. 2 were found half-dressed near a fire as if they fled the tent in panic. Some of the deceased had bizarre injuries. 1 had a fractured skull, another a twisted neck. 2 were missing their eyes, and 1 woman had no tongue. The Soviet investigators could only rule it as an unknown compelling force that had taken their lives. Decades later, explanations range from avalanches to military tests to Yeti attacks, but none fits all the facts. In short, this remains an unsolved glitch in history. People found dead under inexplicable conditions with no clear culprit. I know, depending on who you ask, some say that this case is solved, but the Dyatlov Pass incident still haunts researchers because reality refuses to make sense of what happened that night. Ever had that eerie feeling something is off with reality? Like a scene from The Matrix. Sometimes the real world seems to stutter or glitch, and it's all caught on live TV. From news anchors freezing mid-sentence to ghostly figures strolling through stadiums, these bizarre televised moments have left viewers wondering if we're all characters in some cosmic video game. Strap in, because today we're counting down real-life live TV glitches that are so freaky and unexplained they might just convince you we're living in a simulation. Imagine watching a live news report and suddenly the reporter's words turn into total gibberish. That's exactly what happened during a CBS Los Angeles broadcast from the 2011 Grammy Awards. Viewers were stunned when reporter Serene Branson went from speaking normally to uttering a string of nonsensical sounds on live TV.
Well, a very, very heavy debatation tonight. We had a very daring.
She visibly panicked as she realized something was wrong, leading many to fear that she was having a stroke on air. Paramedics rushed to examine her, and thankfully, her vital signs were normal. It turned out Serene had suffered a complex migraine that mimicked stroke-like symptoms, causing sudden aphasia or speech impairment. In other words, her brain glitched, scrambling her speech. The clip went viral as a real-life Matrix moment, a healthy young reporter seemingly malfunctioning without warning. It was a scary sight, but also a relief when we learned it wasn't a true stroke. Still, for a few seconds of live TV, it felt like reality itself had briefly broken down. A famous weatherman suddenly freezes like an NPC caught in lag. On the Today Show in 2012, co-hosts Savannah Guthrie and Matt Lauer finished a silly dance joking about leaving room for the Holy Ghost between dance partners. That's when Al Roker, the beloved NBC weatherman, did the unthinkable. He stared directly into the camera, motionless, with a goofy grin for a full 17 seconds. He didn't blink, didn't move a muscle. It was as if someone hit the pause button on Al Roker. Roker later explained that it was a bit of deadpan humor, essentially a brain freeze challenge he did on purpose. The show's director egged him on to see how long he could hold the pose, and Al committed to the bit. Even so, watching it back, many viewers felt a chill. The moment looked so uncanny that it's now a classic glitch in the Matrix clip. During a live soccer match, a shadow person sprinted through the stands, and no one can agree if it was a glitch, a ghost, or just a camera trick. This incident happened at a stadium in La Paz, Bolivia, during a Fox Sports broadcast in 2014. In the footage, you see a dark, human-shaped figure running rapidly across the lower tier seats straight through the crowd, yet no one in the audience seems to react to it. Viewers at home were creeped out. Was it a ghost caught on live TV? Rational explanations soon emerged. Lighting snafu or video artifact, basically a technical glitch that made a real person's image smear across the screen. But that hasn't stopped wild theories. The clip went viral, with some saying the stadium is haunted or that we witnessed a Matrix running program acting up. What's freakier than one person glitching? How about two people glitching together? Twin sisters Paula and Bridget Powers from Australia gave an interview that left viewers' jaws on the floor. They were recounting a dramatic carjacking incident involving their mother, but it wasn't the story that stole the show, it was how they told it. The twins spoke in a mesmerizing stereo, often saying the exact same words at the exact same time during the live interview.
So we drop everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there.
At times, one twin would start a sentence and the other would finish it in perfect sync, as if they shared one mind. The effect was so uncanny that the clip went viral worldwide, and even Jimmy Kimmel invited them on his show out of sheer fascination. The sisters themselves just laughed it off, saying their brains think alike at the same time after a lifetime together. Indeed, Paula and Bridget have spent 51 years dressing alike, working together, and practically living in parallel. So, while it seems paranormal, it's likely just an extraordinary sibling bond. Viewers thought they spotted a shape-shifting reptilian on the news, but the truth was more technological. In an old CTV news clip that resurfaced online, a female reporter delivers the headlines when suddenly her eyes appear to glitch. During a blink, her eyes don't look human for a split second, they seem fixed and glazed over, almost like a doll's, or a computer-rendered image. Experts explained that it was a rolling screen repaint artifact from the broadcast. Basically, this was an analog TV signal glitch. On old antenna TV, if the signal degrades at the wrong moment, in this case when she blinked, part of the previous frame's data can briefly hold on for a second. The result? Her eyes open from a prior frame overlaid on her face while blinking, creating a creepy illusion that her eyes blinked but didn't close? Technical or not, it looked really freaky, like an NPC in a video game failing to load its textures. Even after hearing the explanation, some joked, "Sure, that's what they want you to believe." Next, we are talking about the anomalies in the cosmic microwave background. So for this one, we are taking a look at the universe's oldest light. That is the cosmic microwave background, also known as the CMB. This is like the universe's baby picture, taken shortly after the Big Bang. Now, this light should be pretty uniform, but scientists have noticed some weird patterns and anomalies in it. It's as if the universe has a slight glitch, or a kind of a cosmic watermark showing up in this ancient glow. Some folks think these odd patterns might be like the digital artifacts you see in images that have been compressed too much, or when your video game starts showing weird lines because of a graphics bug. What's super intriguing is that these anomalies could hint at a digital grid, or a kind of underlying scaffold to space-time, sort of like how pixels build up your screen. If our universe were a simulation, you might expect to see some clues at the largest scales, and these odd patterns in the CMB are like potential Easter eggs left by the universe's programmers. Next, we are talking about Gödel's incompleteness theorems. So these theorems are like like the ultimate brain teasers of the math world. They tell us that if you have a robust enough system of math, the kind you could use to describe, say, the entire universe, there are always going to be some puzzles you can't solve, no matter how hard you try. It's like having a never-ending list of riddles where some just don't have an answer. Now, think about a computer simulation. Even the most powerful video game or simulation has its limits. There are certain things that it just can't compute or display. Gödel's theorems suggest something similar about our universe. There might be cosmic rules that are kind of like a computer's programming constraints. These unprovable truths could mean we're in a giant cosmic simulation where some things are set up just so the system can keep running without crashing. It's a mind-bending idea that maybe some of the mysteries in the universe are unsolvable because they're built into the code of our reality. Next, we are talking about the bootstrap paradox, which in physics is like a cosmic chicken or the egg scenario that really twists your brain. Imagine you write a story where a scientist receives a mysterious notebook from the future filled with ideas that they then publish. Where did the original idea come from? Similarly, in physics, we have laws that could potentially explain how entire universes, including one like ours, might be created. It's as if the universe could contain the recipe for making more universes, including itself. This kind of mind-bending, self-creating loop is like a video game where characters discover they can design and spawn new levels or even new games from within the game they're already playing. It suggests our universe could be just one level in an epic cosmic game, constantly spawning new universes in a never-ending cycle. So next time you're pondering the mysteries of the cosmos, consider that maybe we're in a universe that's bootstrapping itself into existence. Next, we are talking about the black hole information paradox. Imagine you toss your favorite book into a black hole, a bit dramatic, I know. According to the rules of quantum mechanics, the information in that book should be preserved somewhere, somehow, because in the quantum world, information never really disappears. But black holes, these cosmic vacuum cleaners, seem to suck everything in and let nothing out, not even light, which makes it look like the information just vanishes from the universe. This dilemma is what scientists call the black hole information paradox. Now here's where things get really sci-fi. Some smart folks think this paradox could be a clue that we are living in a cosmic hologram. They suggest that all the information swallowed by the black hole might actually be stored on its surface, kind of like how your phone stores stuff in the cloud. I'm still trying to figure out what the cloud is. This idea is part of the holographic principle, which hints that our entire 3D universe might be a projection from a 2D boundary. This very mind-bending concept fits nicely with the simulation hypothesis, suggesting that what we experience as three-dimensional could be just another level of grand cosmic simulation. And finally on our list today, we are talking about tampering with the experiment. So imagine if we found out for sure that our whole life is just a massive computer game and everything we've just spoken about is in fact true. Now that's what Professor Preston Green from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore is thinking about. He's pretty worried that if our scientists ever manage to prove that we're living in a simulation, it could cause a huge mess. So here's the deal. According to Green, if we start running experiments and suddenly figure out that yes, we are indeed a simulation, this could really mess up the whole point of why we're being simulated in the first place. Green suggests that if we get too nosy and prove that we're just bits of data in a cosmic computer, the beings running this show might just hit the off switch. Why? Well, because if we know we're in a simulation, then we'll probably change our behavior so much that the simulation stops being useful for whatever questions our creators are trying to answer about their own world. So, while it's fun and kind of weird to think about being in a giant video game, Green warns that proving it could lead to game over for all of us. So, just be careful, you know? They have questions for us, buddy, I got questions for them, okay?